My parents, a 69-year-old man and a 71-year-old woman, had 3 kids. I have a sister who is 10 years younger than me and a brother who is 6 years older than me and died in an insane car accident when he was 20. I was an accident, my mother has told me often in a passive-aggressive manner. They never came right out and said they were sorry I was born. But how was a child meant to react when he was informed he was unwanted and that his existence was a hassle? My elder brother was someone I greatly admired. He was powerful, large, and my hero. He taught me how to fight so I could defend myself and shielded me from jerks, which, it turned out, were frequently our own parents. In addition to his remarkable looks and popularity, he was a skilled athlete. He was a notable reserve player for his college and started as tight end for his high school football squad. People used to make fun of him for looking like a very young Marlon Brando in the late 1980s. To put it simply, he was a role model and a man to me that my crazy, selfish, manipulative punk of a dad could never be. I can now, as an adult, realize how tragically, hilariously, and horrible my parents were. I used to believe as a child that there was something wrong with me. If there was a weakness in my brother, it would be that he was a straight-A student without any aptitude for music or books. Upon noticing my brother's good looks, kind demeanor, and athletic prowess, my parents wasted no money in attempting to mold him into someone he wasn't, either on the violin or in the classroom. My parents have always regarded me as an afterthought since the day I was born. It wasn't because of our age differences that I observed a clear contrast in how they handled him and how they treated me. They simply showed me that he was more important than I was by their actions. But my brother was different from them, and he was always very kind to me. For instance, he tried to get them to quit paying for his lessons when I was 10 years old and demonstrated true natural aptitude on the piano they bought especially for him. He said he had no musical skill and that he actually detested the piano. I showed some talent, so he proposed they pay for me instead. They evidently objected to the plan and never gave me the money I needed for music instruction. After paying for my own piano lessons as an adult, I now work a part-time job playing the piano at a local bar for enjoyment. Additionally, he noticed that my parents didn't celebrate my birthday as much as they did his, so he would use his own money to treat me to a special dinner, gifts, and other mementos to show me that I was valued. When my sister was born, I was in the 5th grade and already felt like much more of a nuisance than before. My sister used to use me as a babysitter a lot when she was younger. They coddled her and showed my elder brother their usual extreme kindness. Being the Jan Brady of the family, I overachieved and never received approval from my parents. My brother's college education also came at no shortfall from my parents. His athletic scholarship was partially funded by my parents. To cut a long story short, one evening while out for a jog, he was struck and killed by an inebriated driver at a crosswalk. Of course, my mom and I were devastated. My parents constantly reminded and implied that I was inferior to my brother, and that I could never replace him, taking great pleasure in venting their anger and sorrow on me. This isn't the grown-up, resentful me summarizing events to support my position. Why are they stuck with me? This is me, reflecting calmly and logically on the last years following therapy. I was raised with the belief by my parents that if one of us had to die, they would have preferred for me to pass away rather than my brother. To make matters worse, I was small and rather overweight when I was a teenager. It didn't help that my father would often make disparaging remarks about my height and athletic prowess in comparison to my brother. Your brother was 6'3" when he was your age. Gee, thanks for this helpful advice, Dad. I'll have a word with my legs and tell them to stop being so short because, as you know, my genes are my fault and not yours. Nothing from my parents when it was time for me to go college. No offer to pay, no offer to assist, no compliments on my flawless grades, no acknowledgement of my multiple science and engineering accolades from high school. They only came to my graduation, and even then, it appeared, reluctantly. They never attended any of my events. The passive-aggressive remark that I was merely a co-salutatorian and not the valedictorian was their sole comment. From kindergarten through the 12th grade, I never once received a grade lower than an A, outstanding, exemplary, for an academic or elective. I didn't need their financial assistance to pay for college because I excelled academically there too, and by now I knew it was obvious that they disliked having me around. Numerous full-ride scholarships, from within and outside the state, were offered to me. I decided to blow town after my parents said I wanted to take a scholarship across the nation, thinking, F it, instead of saying anything like, oh, stay near us, we want you near home, we'll miss you. For extra money to support my scholarships, I worked at a Rite Aid pharmacy. I studied aerospace as my major and physics as my minor. I tried to make the effort to visit my parents on holidays throughout my time in college, but I could tell that I was as useless to them as I had always been. When I started graduate school on a full-ride scholarship, I simply told them all au revoir, and ceased communicating with them. They never once attempted to call me after that, so I could see how much they valued me once more. Or up until a short while ago. I've spent the last 17 years in the aerospace industry. My annual salary exceeds $200,000. I've been married for almost 20 years to a stunning 40-year-old woman who selected me before I was even close to obtaining these things, and who also has a successful literary career. I own my own home, 2 opulent cars, an RV, and a motorcycle. Our daughter is 4 years old, and our son is 5. I know exactly what not to do with my kids because of my personal experience with my parents. At the age of 19, my sister married a man who, in my opinion, was a loser and a user. My folks went all out for her opulent nuptials. Even though I didn't have the same stable financial situation as I do now, I was still getting paid well at the time. Everyone there was as chilly towards me as I recall them being when I went to the wedding. Nobody gave me congrats on becoming a fully fledged adult now. After hitting my growth spurt at age 20, I am now over 6 feet tall and extremely trim and well-built. Well, anything. I presented my sister with a $5,000 gift. A family member noticed that I had mentioned taking private lessons, so my sister requested me to play the piano at the wedding, so I also got the opportunity to perform. Everyone gave me backslaps and was thrilled with what I had played. Of course, not a word from my folks. The daughter of my sister is 6 years old. Surprise, surprise, sister divorced her husband 2 years ago because he was a loser, a user, and totally useless. My sister moved back home with my parents because he refuses to pay her child support because he is impoverished. She desires to return to her studies. My dad had paid for her modern art degree, but she never found employment with it, and now she doubts she would be able to get a well-paying job with it unless she gets more credits or obtains a new degree. My folks have now unexpectedly recalled my phone number. They may not have stated it, but it seems to me that they spent all of their money on treating her and their personal preferences. They now believe it is my responsibility, as her wealthy older brother, to step in and pay because they frequently take opulent holidays. Since my sister could really use the money and I didn't spend much time with her when she was younger because you moved out so early, my mom believes it would be elegant for me to offer to pay. Alright, it makes sense. She adds that it's unfortunate that I don't see them more often because she and my dad are becoming older and they don't understand why I'm so conceited. Complete deception. My dad, who is aware of the true events, seems to be silent on the matter. I still want to ram a fist straight into his face like a freight train. Shortly after my brother passed away, he informed me that my brother was always embarrassed of me. A few weeks before, my brother had told me straight to my face that he would always be there for me, that he loved me, and that no one could ever damage you if I stood. My brother and I have been together for a certain amount of time. He inspires me to excel when I want to. My father is an idiot. The problem is, even while I am aware of my parents' shortcomings, I still don't want my niece to suffer. She and my own children are of the same age, and I detest the thought of her being without. My sister and I have never had a difficult relationship, but she is a self-absorbed narcissist who is influenced by my parents. I can contribute monetarily, but I don't like how they've treated me since I was a lad, and in a short while, my own children will be attending college. Who knows, too? I could lose my job tomorrow, in which case my entire way of life would collapse. When should I make a money offer? Shall I make any offer at all? If not, what other ways can I assist? Although it's unfortunate for your sister and her daughter, your sister's poor decisions in life have led to their predicament. It is not your responsibility to save them from these issues. This needs to be a boundary established since, based on my suspicion, it won't end with the money. I can only assume that it will be your sister's college expenses, after which she will require money for a place of her own, your parents' aging and subsequent requirements, and of course, you will be a bad son if you refuse to cover them. You are not quite a millionaire, but you do have 2 children of your own to take care of, and you have made an amazing life for yourself. Prioritize looking after your own wife and kids. My brother, a 34-year-old man, encouraged me to live with him until I could obtain a house of my own, so a few months ago, I, a 29-year-old woman, relocated to a new state. He did not provide me with any precise guidelines. Rent is something I pay. A few things have happened to rile me up, like him and his wife, a 29-year-old woman, sitting me down for meetings on Sundays to discuss how I was improving myself, and what jobs I had been looking at. A weekend before I was supposed to be there, they barged into my room, sat down on my floor, and demanded to know what positions I was applying to through my email. They started to mention that I should be exercising more at that point. It's too much energy drink for me. They believe that I don't consume a healthy enough diet. They would use things against me, such as me telling them I love to ride my bike and then getting upset that I didn't receive a bike. You don't follow through on your statements. I was thrilled to apply for a banking job, but the hiring procedure took a while, so I took a job serving steakhouse patrons in the interim. The work hours were lengthy, and I frequently worked double shifts, so I would return home between 1:30 a.m. and 11 p.m. Although I don't drink much, I occasionally drank a beer after work. I can't finish one in an attempt to decompress after work. I think I might have drank 1 or 2 beers per week. They discovered this by searching through my belongings in my room when I wasn't there in an attempt to find a missing glass. They announced that they were concerned about me and believed I had a problem during a meeting or intervention. I don't really, but it just became a tirade about all the things they felt I was doing incorrectly. Without my knowledge, they also filmed the entire talk to provide to relatives. Things were tense and uncomfortable. After my other brother's and his wife's wedding flight to our state, I was sat down and beaten mercilessly. I attempted to move over it even though it was simply too much, too overwhelming, and hurtful to me. For a while, everything was fine. I recently completed my home-based banking training program. I work a lot and don't go out often. My partner is an hour distant from me. Given my higher-paying career, we had previously discussed moving in together before the year ended. It had been a few weeks since I last saw my boyfriend. In addition to Thanksgiving, yesterday was also my birthday. He came to fetch me and we went out to eat and spent some quality time together. My phone died after we watched videos on it while eating ice cream, depleting the battery. We headed back home after I went to the store to acquire a new charger because mine was breaking. We arrived at my house at about 11:30 after I plugged in my phone to charge it. We sat and chatted for a while because I was really enjoying his company, and at 12 in the morning I made the decision to go inside. It's an electronic doorknob, the kind with the writing pad. Normally, I walk to my house by myself, but my boyfriend followed me with the cake he had given me because I had gifts and food. I kept trying my code, but I was unable to log in. After I switched on my phone in confusion, my brother's wife texted me to let me know that if I arrived home after 12, it would lock me out. My phone died, thus I wasn't able to see them. We've never discussed having a curfew or established guidelines requiring me to get home by a specific time. When I worked at the restaurant, I consistently arrived home later than that. We returned to the car since I was at a loss for what to do. Because everything was filled for Thanksgiving, we had to pay $300 for a hotel room at short notice and arrived at our room at 3 a.m. My partner was meant to head home, but he decided to travel back the following day to pick me up so I could attend my grandma's Thanksgiving celebration. However, I was bare bones, without a toothbrush or makeup remover. I ended up crying in my boyfriend's car throughout the day today, having a panic attack, and skipping my grandma's Thanksgiving since we both look like a mess, and I'm just extremely upset. I'm torn. It's okay if my brother and his wife dislike me arriving home later than expected, but locking me out of the house for less than an hour on Thanksgiving, my birthday, simply seemed so cruel to me. I didn't sure if what I did was really that horrible and I should have known better, but it destroyed my plans for today because I couldn't get ready to visit my grandma and family. It was, in my opinion, a ludicrous reaction, but I'm not sure. I'm so freaked out that I've been crying outside all day since she hasn't texted me back. I'm afraid that when I return, I won't be able to enter. I'm afraid they'll corner me once more and give me a hard time or start a fight. I can't stop wondering what I would have done if my boyfriend hadn't walked me to the door and gone, locked me out of my phone, and it was at 2%. Should I sleep in my car? I was trembling like a leaf on the porch, dressed as light as possible. I'm so afraid and sick with anxiety that I haven't gone home yet. I would appreciate any guidance. I'm not sure how to think about or respond to this circumstance. You had to leave there immediately. This is extremely poisonous. The rest of your family isn't any better. They're in complete control of your life and are always influencing you. In a few months, you'll move out on your own and realize that moving out will not cause you to feel anxious or concerned about someone looking through your belongings, etc. At that point, you can have your partner move in with you to ensure that you're not harboring strange, toxic behaviors out of conditioned fear without realizing it.